Good morning, Year 7. Welcome back to history. The subject of today's learning is this gentleman over here. He was King Henry VII and was the first Tudor monarch. And he came to power when he defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth and became King of England. He reigned in the years 1485 to 1509. However, whilst you may well be very well acquainted with a lot of the Tudor dynasty, things weren't so straightforward at the start. And when he became king, he was really facing a lot of problems. And that's really what we're looking at to do today. We want to be able to describe some of those problems. We want to explain how he solved those problems and judge how successfully he managed to deal with them. Before you get going, just so that you can understand some of the terminology that we are going to be looking at, in our study, I want you to look at the definitions for these two words, dynasty and reign. Just look them up online and write them in your books. So key to the main task of this lesson is this Word document here, which should also be attached on Frog. If you are unable to access it on Frog, drop me an email. I'll put it on Frog so that you know what it is, and just ask me to send it across. That should be quite straightforward. But you'll need to use this document. Ideally, if you can, print it off. Although by all means, color coding and editing in a Word document is absolutely fine. If you need to change the color of one of the text boxes, you just right-click it and click. It's normally depending on which Word format you're using, but you should normally be able to either click Format Shape, or there should just be an option to change the color, and you just fill it in a different color. Anyway, I'll let you figure that out for yourselves. So this brings you on to here. Now, there were 6 key problems that Henry had to deal with when he became the King of England. He had to stop the Wars of the Roses, that's the obvious first one. He had to figure out how to protect the kingdom from possible enemies. He had to figure out how to make the kingdom richer. It's going to be very difficult as a king to do much if you have no money, as previous kings had realised. He needs to figure out how to develop culture and traditions. He also needs to figure out how to deal with the leaders of other kingdoms. And finally, how to keep the nobles under control so they don't threaten the Tudor dynasty. This last one is especially important. If you remember back to when we looked at the feudal system or when we looked at the Magna Carta, the nobles, be it the barons, the earls, or anyone else who controls a large amount of wealth in the country or has a particularly important title, can cause the King of England a lot of problems, and they are generally people that you are going to want to get on your side. So your first task is, on your sheet, match the solution to the problem by shading it in the right colour or by numbering them. Okay, thinking about this as well, just going back to those problems that he faced, do remember Henry's own claim to the throne of England could be at best described as tenuous. He was a distant relation of a previous king. He had only won the crown by winning it in battle, and legitimacy is very important to a king of England and to how he is seen by his subjects in the country and by the people he wants to rule over. If you aren't seen as legitimate and as the rightful person to be king, then ruling the country is going to be nigh on impossible. So with that in mind, your second task is to rank the problems in order of 1 to 6, from the hardest to solve to the easiest. Then I want you to write down why you've chosen your number 1 problem. Okay, not just a few words. I don't want a short sentence, I want a good paragraph here explaining why you've chosen the biggest problem that Henry had to deal with in terms of the difficulty he had solving it. Okay, I don't mind what you pick. If you choose to pick how to make the kingdom richer, or how to deal with the leaders of other kingdoms, or anything else, that's entirely down to you. But nevertheless, I want to see that justification. Finally, I want you to pretend that you are Henry VII and write a letter to your mother, Margaret Beaufort, to tell her how you have dealt with the problems that you have faced. You need to think about things like whether you now feel secure from your enemies, if you've managed to make enough money, have you made friends with the Yorkists, have you made alliances, have you managed to keep the nobles under control, and ultimately, can you now be considered to be a successful ruler? Okay, so that's it. If you're writing it in your book, then just take a picture and upload it either to Frog or send it to me via email or on Teams. If you are doing it on PowerPoint, likewise, just upload it to Frog and upload it to Frog or send it to me via email or on Microsoft Teams. Okay, here if you need, contact me if you have any issues with this work. Best of luck.